All right, we'll call the Parks and Rec meeting to order and stand for the pledge, please. Just stay there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Chair Vorse.
Here.
Vice Chair Carney.
Here.
Ms. Foney.
Here.
Mr. Hudson. Ms. Stoffel.
Here.
Mr. Newcomb. Sir, we have 4. That's a quorum.
All right. Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Any opposed?
Can we just have a clarifying from the last meeting? There was some confusion when we were doing the roll the last time about Mr. Myler, just to clarify that he's not on this committee.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
That's all right. As much as he wants to be. He can't.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he's not here today. Okay. All right, minutes are approved. All right, there's no items for council action. All this is just information tonight, so we'll just roll one right after another. Take it away.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we just have a couple quick items tonight, and just to give you an update of kind of what we're doing. Item 3.1 is the Sports Park Economic Impact Update. We do this every year, and so we've got great data to present to you tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and pump this football to Patrick to go through the impact. So, Patrick, take it away.
All right, so if you were at the meeting last year when we did this, it's going to look fairly similar. Again, this is using some internal calculations just based on economic impact data with what people are spending when they come to the park for tournaments and events and things like that throughout the course of 2025. So you'll see on this very first slide an estimated over $9.25 million in economic impact to the community through the tournaments that we hosted and leagues at the park over this last year. We still have the same big 5 core group of GMB baseball, USSSA softball, Metro Alliance soccer, Gateway Rush, and St. Louis Scott Gallagher clubs. We're actively working to try and get a few other big tournaments, especially soccer, to fill in some voids at the park. But we've also seen some pretty consistent growth with the 2 lacrosse tournaments that we host, so we're hoping that they start to add some more, because they kind of fill in a lot of our soccer field lulls throughout the summer. So,
and before we move on to the next slide, I just want to remind you that that 9.25 is not revenue for the city of O'Fallon. That's revenue brought into the city, and then the city collects the taxes and the impact from that 9.25 million.
So our two big users of the baseball, softball fields of the park, again, are GMB baseball tournaments and then USSSA softball. And this is their estimated economic impact. So GMB was just a little over $1.7 million, and the USSSA softball is just over $2.3 million. Softball, they bring in quite a few teams, and they play a little bit longer into the year, whereas baseball, they don't do a whole lot in the fall. Whereas softball, as soon as junior high softball seasons are done in Illinois, they're rolling out 4 or 5 tournaments for us in the fall, whereas baseball, they hit August and they pretty much stop. And then our big 3 soccer clubs, so you've got Metro Alliance, just under $800,000 in economic impact. Gateway Rush is right around $860,000, and St. Louis Scott Gallagher, they're the big one. They host the biggest tournaments probably in the Midwest here in St. Louis, and they use our park and a couple facilities over in St. Louis. There's this St. Louis Scott Gallagher spread across 3 tournaments. Rush has 2, and Alliance has 3. Tournaments that they host out at the park. And again, we're actively trying to get a couple of the other big clubs in the area to move things to the park and fill in some of those open weekends. We always have the local league slice that plays. It's teams from all over St. Louis, but with that, you don't have overnight stays at the hotels, and they come and go, and we're lucky if they stop at a restaurant sometimes. So always looking to fill with more tournaments. And so just moving on, so a lot of this is pulled from Placer AI again, in terms of the actual visit data, whereas a lot of the economic stuff does a lot of estimates that we get numbers wise. But you'll see this last year we were just under 1.5 million visits to the park that lasted at least 10 minutes. If you change that, you can go either, basically it's a parent dropping their kid off and then going home can count as a visit, or 10 minutes. So I always do everything by 10 minutes because then that generally means they're parking and staying at the park for a considerable amount of time. Over 370,000 unique visitors came to the park this year, and the average length of those visits was just over 2 hours. So we are seeing people, again, staying for multiple events at once. We did have a slight dip in numbers this year. Chalk a lot of that up to, we had really bad weather for our stuff in the spring. We lost tournaments to USSSA softball tournament. 2 baseball tournaments were completely canceled this spring due to the weather. And then also Metro Alliance, they lost an entire day of a soccer tournament this fall due to weather. Soccer, they'll play through a lot of rain, but even there's a point where they have to stop. Baseball, softball, they call it quits a little bit earlier. But then again, we can be rain-proof with turf, but we're never lightning-proof. So anytime there's lightning, we've got our systems that put us in delays and things like that. So we did have a pretty rough year, relatively speaking, especially compared to last year with the weather, and that kind of hurt some of our visitors to the park coming out.
And just to add to what Patrick just said, if we have a rain event on Saturday for a baseball or softball tournament, a lot of times they'll call it quits for the entire tournament. They just can't get it in, so then you lose Sunday as well, where that typically doesn't happen with soccer.
So and this is just highlighting some of our biggest weekends throughout the year in terms of visitors and number of visits to the park. So you'll see the combined weekend with St. Louis Scott Gallagher and GMB, we had over 50,000 visits and 30,000 people to the park. All the numbers on the data there. This does include people coming out to the splash pad in the community, things like that. But of course, the big draw is these tournaments and things coming and going as we have things happen at the park. This is a new slide for this year, a little bit different. So you can see we had at least 19 weekends this year with 20,000 visits, at least 34 with over 13,000 visits, and 45 with over 1,000. Some tournaments are just bigger than others. Like we actually kick off our baseball tournaments here in just a couple weeks, but those are going to be relatively small compared to what we see May, June, July, just because kids are in school, the weather's, you never know, so they may use half the quads or something like that. But we really pick up as the weather gets nice. And you'll see, I thought it was pretty impressive. We only had 7 weekends with less than 1,000 visits to the park, and those were basically the weekends of the year when it's really cold or there's holidays. So people are always out and about at the park. This is a repeat from last year. We're still number 2 for the category that Placer AI puts us into, which is the nature and landmark sites in the region just behind the arch. Within the state, we are 6th this year. Again, some of the major parks in Chicago that have festivals, events, all kinds of stuff happening there. And then Olympic Park in Schaumburg, which is a major soccer hub for the Chicago area. Within the nation, you'll see in 2024, we were 73rd out of 6,000, just over 6,000. Placer AI has added a lot of competition to our category. So we did drop to 187th, but that's now out of 16,000 different nature and landmark sites. So we're still in the top 200 within the nation, and we basically doubled our ranking, and they almost tripled the number of sites that they're putting in our category. So we're still doing pretty well there. And then this is kind of a reference for more of our region and what we see for our competition, you could say, with our sports park. And this is the number of visits we had over the course of the year. We're still well up there. We're ahead of Plummer Park, Chesterfield Valley, Creve Coeur Soccer Complex, the complex that's out in Rantoul over by Champaign. Then I did put Olympic Park on there just for comparison. And with them, like I said, they're a big soccer hub for Chicago. They advertise on their website. They have 8 turf fields, but every single one of their baseball fields, every picture, they've got multiple soccer fields. So that's what they really try to attract up there. So that'd be more like 14 or 15 soccer fields that they usually put out. So again, just an interesting map of the purple that you see on here. Anywhere there's purple is where our visitors are coming from. So this is the heat map. Obviously, we cover pretty much all of Illinois, a large chunk of Missouri. You'll see big groups from Minnesota. We've got Utah, Colorado. I went through today and was doing some more digging into the Placer system. And this year we had visitors from 49 out of the 50 states in 2025 to the park. The only state that we didn't have a visitor from was Hawaii. Last year, by comparison, we were 45 out of 50 states. So that was We had some people come from the Northeast, which was a difference from 2024. So that was good to see people coming from pretty much everywhere to come play or at least visit the park. Another thing that Placer can do with that tracking is kind of tell you where people are coming from and going to when they leave the park. Obviously, the number one place people are coming from is home, and generally they're going home after they leave. And I filtered this down to just on the weekends for the restaurants on this list. So it's just Friday, Saturday, Sunday where people are going to and from, and you'll see local places right there at the top of the list that people are stopping to get their coffee before they come to the park. That Scooters and both Starbucks in towns are the number one category of quick service / fast food restaurant that Placer breaks it down into. So everybody wants their coffee before they come out to the fields in the morning. And then everybody's looking to get dinner or lunch after they leave. But you will see the number one place that people are going is Raising Cane's after they leave the park, and that is over in Fairview. So that's a good plug to try and get them to come to town, because it would do very well. You'll see McDonald's, Drake's, and Steak and Shake, of course, and then to round out the top 5, Chick-fil-A also over in Fairview are 2 of the top 5 are the chicken places everybody loves. So. And then another big one from us I was able to drill down to is where are the families staying when they come for our weekend tournaments at the park. And this breaks down the top 10 hotels that people come to the park from, similar to the food, and then where they go. Because we hear a lot from our tournament directors that even though there's a lot of hotels in town, there's not always enough for our tournaments when they come in. So you'll see the number 2 hotel that people are coming to the park from is in Collinsville. So we are excited that there's more hotels coming to town to help out our teams, because that is a common thing we hear from a lot of our tournament directors is they have to stay other places. Or you'll see number 8, and we know this is an agreement that one of the clubs has with these hotels, but number 8 is over in St. Louis. They're coming all the way from the DoubleTree at Westport with St. Louis Scott Gallagher, that people are having to stay a ways away. We know a lot of people go to downtown St. Louis and drive over to the park. And there's a lot on here, but we are excited to get those few other hotels here in town.
What's the difference between the left and the right column?
Left is going to the park, and right is like when they're leaving at the end of the night. I couldn't really dive into why exactly you'd think those numbers would match up a little bit more, but they don't. But that is basically left is going to, and right is going home after your games are done at the end of the day.
If they don't stay Friday.
What?
If they don't stay Friday, they would go
Yeah, potentially.
to their
yeah.
hotel.
Yeah, so they didn't stay Friday. Yeah, they could just be going to their hotel after their games are done Saturday morning. So I know that was a pretty quick run through of everything that was in there. So lots of good data, a lot that we can pull from Placer that's really interesting for us. But again, it was a slightly slower year at the park, but a lot of that I think was weather induced, just with a really rough spring that we had. But we anticipate having a good jump back up to really good numbers again, even though not that they were bad, but we always want to see that number growing. So.
All right, thank you, Patrick.
Can you clarify, I'm sorry, remind me what the difference is in unique visitors?
So we had like 1.5 about visits. So that's people coming to the park multiple times. So we had 370,000 unique individuals. So they may have come to the park just once or repeated times, but 370,000 different people came to the park, whereas the total visits is the number of people. So every time I go to the park from the office to check on something, that may count as a visit. So that total number of visits is adding all that up, whereas unique visitors is just, if you brought your family out, that's 4 unique visitors.
Any other questions or comments from anybody?
Okay. Sports park construction update. This is just a little heads up on what we're doing at the park and how the construction's going. Is going really good, and then the weather hit, and we slowed down a little bit, but they're starting to pick up this week. They're out there again today, doing some work, and they're starting to get going again. The site has been graded, both sites have been graded. The rock base has been installed for the turf fields, sub-base drainage has gone in, backstops and fence posts are all in, and they were working on the curbing for the soccer fields today, and with a little luck, that curbing will be completed by the end of the week. And then after the curbing is done, they'll put some boards on around it, and then they'll bring in the turf and start laying the turf. So still hopefully on track by late April, but don't want to get too excited because you never know what the spring weather is going to bring. But so far, so good on the turf fields. And then once the turf fields 9 and 10 are completed, they will move to field number 2. At that point, we'll take the renters who are under contract for field number 2, move them to field 9 or 10, and then we'll remove the turf on field 2 and begin that process. So we won't lose any renters or we won't break any contracts. We'll just move from point A to point B, and then next fall we'll start out with a full park of contracts. So it's good news. And then the grading, obviously, for the parking lot is going well. They have a lot of the grading done. There's still some more work to do. What they're doing is the excess dirt, and I think I might have even said this last month, or 2 months ago, they took off of the turf fields, they spread it out over the grass fields, so we're gonna regrade and recrown the 2 grass fields that are there. They're fields 11 and 12. So it was cheaper to kind of move the dirt over there and regrade it and raise those soccer fields versus hauling the dirt off. So we reutilize the dirt. So we're gonna actually have 2 really nice grass fields when those come in. And I think that's going to be advantageous to us because in the summer when it's 170 degrees on the turf and we have a camp, now we'll have the grass fields to move over to what's a little cooler to utilize those grass fields. And plus it gives us an extra 2 fields. So moving that dirt around is actually going to be a win-win long term. But, you know, it's going to take us a year to year and a half to get that grass seeded and ready to go. Otherwise, that's all for the construction update.
Questions or comments? Keep going.
All right. Number 3 is a Vine Street Market update, and this is just things we got going on with the market this summer. I know it's an exciting time. Samantha and her team are really busy getting the vendors locked down and getting all organized for the summer. So currently we have 116 vendors, 43 brand new applications from new vendors. So they will jury those 116 once the deadline hits here on March 1st, and then they'll make selections for this year's market. So typically the way that works is they take all of the vendors, look through what they're selling, they verify that they're an established vendor and that they can produce what they promise, and then they'll jury them and they'll whittle that list of 116 or 120, whatever we're at, down to probably 100, and then they'll lock those 100 vendors into contracts for all summer long. So it's a process. It takes a lot of work on her part just to look through every single website, every single vendor, and they give all the new ones an honest look. So it's a busy time. 47 music applications, so we'll have, as you know, 2 stages there every week, so we'll have music on both stages, and a lot of people have applied to be musicians, and then we have 8 food trucks who've applied as well. So micro markets, February 28th, March 4th, 28th, April 11th, and April 25th. Those are the single smaller markets, start at 9 to noon, and it's typically just inside the station, just to kind of whet your appetite to get before the market starts. Important dates, micro markets begin, opening day this year is May 9th. The following week is Strawberry Festival on May 16th. July 18th is Peach Festival. August 8th is the Watermelon Festival. And the last day of the market is October 17th. And then we have the Thanksgiving market on the 21st. And Home for the Holidays is still in development, so we don't have quite a date tied down for that yet. But again, the market is getting ready. So. And then downtown events, we just had Taste of O'Fallon. If you know what this is, it was basically 4 groups of 10 to 15, and then they just toured four restaurants, I think, had a little bit of a meal at each one, and then each group rotated to the next restaurant. It was well received. I think people loved it. I think some people here actually went to it, and they thought it was fantastic. So we have another one coming up here where we've increased the numbers. So kudos to the downtown district for that terrific event. And then the Grub Crawl is March 15th. District nights are June 4th, July 9th, and August 16th. District Frights is October 3rd. Halloween Grub Crawl is the 24th, and Small Business Saturday is November 28th. So mark those dates in your calendar. Okay.
You're doing
And then after that, I'm trying to stay to my schedule here. And then after that is just our Parks and Rec maintenance reports and the Superintendent of Rec report on what we're doing, and that concludes my other business. There we go.
Any questions or comments from anybody? Public comments? All right, hearing and seeing none, take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We are adjourned.
All
Thanks.
right, thank you.
Next meeting at 6 o'clock.
All right, Greg, ready? All right. We have 5:53. I'm going to call the Community Development meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Campbell?
Here.
Mylart? Parchman?
Here.
Rosenberg? Present. Roach?
Here.
Botts. Thank you. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. So Jessica is out, so as vice chair, I'll be chairing it. We have our normal agenda go through. We will have a section for public comment as well. And from that, we will go ahead and get started.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is item, actually, can we go back and approve the minutes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, see,
Thank you.
I'm out of work here. I need a motion to approve the minutes from January 26th. So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, minutes approved. Thank you. 2.1.
Thank you. Item 2.1 is an ordinance for the property located at 1708 New Car Drive. This is a planned use request from Scott's Power Equipment for an outdoor display. They are going to be moving in, or in the process of moving into 1708 New Car Drive in the former Offenburg Auto Mall. They currently have 3 existing locations in Bridgeton, Arnold, and Wentzville, Missouri. They were previously in the city of O'Fallon and are seeking to come back. Scott's Power Equipment offers lawn mowing equipment, snow removal, parts and accessories, and services and repair. The zoning for 1708 is currently B1, Community Business District, and if approved for an outdoor display, the zoning would be B1P, Planned Community Business District. taking a look at the zoning map, most of the properties located around the subject property are either located B1P or B2, which falls in line with the subject property zoning and use and request. Additionally, the property is zoned regional commercial in the future land use map, and the use is also deemed appropriate for this property. Looking at the adjacent land use, and just to give an update on the former Offenburg Auto Mall, there are currently 3 sites that are vacant. We have had Goodwill, Aloha Pools, Equipment Share, Richline Motorsports, Q Storage, and now Scott's Power Equipment all move into Auto Court and New Car Drive. So we have 3 properties left, and we have been working with the the property owners to try and find suitable tenants for those spaces. In terms of traffic circulation and parking, the petitioner is required to have 40 parking spaces. Given that this was a former car dealership, there is more than enough parking for the efficient flow of traffic onto and throughout the site. 40 spots are already provided on the site. Signage was not included in this proposal. However, we have worked with the petitioners, and they have already submitted a sign permit application that does meet city code. And just looking at the site plan that is provided, they are looking to do 2 fenced-in areas, one along the existing iron rod fence in front of the site, and then right outside of the north elevation, they want to do a fenced-in area directly outside of the building for storage of their lawn care, snow removal, and equipment of that sorts. This does conform with the 2040 master plan in terms of promoting the stabilization expansion of the economic base. This development will utilize a vacant building and continue to enhance the auto mall development, as well as diversify employment opportunities and tax diversification for the city. In terms of the zoning code, this does meet zoning code and all area bulk regulations for the property. They are strictly just asking for an outdoor display, which requires a planned use approval. Therefore, staff does recommend approval of the PUD request with the following conditions. A 6-foot iron rod fence will be required to screen the front and side portions of the outdoor displays. The fence will be set behind landscape areas along frontage. There will be no signage, artwork, banners, or advertisements to be mounted, affixed, displayed, or above the 6-foot iron rod fence at any time. And that concludes my presentation for this request. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Yes.
What impact is this going to have on sales tax receipts?
I believe most of it is rental equipment, so therefore it would not have any impact on sales tax.
Okay.
Good question. All right. Any other questions from the committee? Oh, yes, go ahead.
So actually, they did implement a rental tax, but we don't know what that's going to be because we don't know what their volume of sales, but it's also a 1% rental tax that they did implement just this last year. So that's something new. IDOR.
So just real quick on that. So the state implemented it, and we get, the city gets a portion
That
of
is
that, just
correct.
like the sales?
Correct. So like at Home Depot, if you rented something at Home Depot, you're now being charged 1% on that.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification. All right. Any else from the council? From the public? All right. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
So moved. Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Parchman?
Yes.
Rosenberg?
Affirmative?
Campbell?
Yes.
Roach?
Yes. All
Thank
right.
you.
That'll move on to the next city council meeting. And now 2.2.
Thank you. Item 2.2 is an ordinance, a request for a planned use amendment for the development of Greenmount Motorsports located at 1560 North Greenmount Road. Taking a look at an overview of the property, this is a planned use submittal for that property located on North Greenmount. The property is currently 8.58 acres. The applicant is Braden Holzhauer of BMBB Real Estate LLC. This does have a planned use already in place for when the building was originally approved. So the zoning is B1P, Planned Community Business, and for the expansion, the request of an alternative parking plan, and for the approval to expand the outdoor display, if approved, the zoning would remain the same at B1P, Planned Community Business District. Just to give you a brief history of the site, this was first constructed in 2006 through a planned use request and ordinance. In 2020, Greenmount Harley-Davidson applied to construct another 6,500 square foot expansion for a showroom located on the north side of the existing building. The applicant is requesting approval to expand the site to accommodate the need for an additional storage and equipment display area. So taking a look at the site plan that was submitted, this faint outline on the northern part of the property is the existing building, which does include the expansion from last year. There's an outdoor display, which we will cover, located directly outside of the existing building, and then the expansion located on the southeast portion of this site plan shows the 19,500 square foot expansion and the pavement to the parking lot that would be redone and striped. Taking a look at the current zoning map, this is zone B1P from the original planned use. Most sites that are adjacent to this property are also zone B1. This is zoned in the future land use map as general commercial, and given that this is already an existing business, it is appropriate. And then looking at the adjacent land use, this is located mostly surrounded by professional office buildings directly across the street from St. Elizabeth Hospital, CVS, Sonic, Denny's. In terms of the parking per city code with the expansion, the property would be required to have 3 spaces per 1,000 square foot for indoor sales. The total building area with the expansion would be approximately 62,000 square feet, which would be a requirement of 187 spaces. The petitioner has requested an approval of an alternative parking plan per city code. They have submitted ITE, Institute of Transportation Engineers data, which does summarize IT data for motorcycle sales. The total building area at 62,000 square feet is recommended for 2.57 spaces per 1,000 square feet, which would be a minimum of 160 spaces. So they are asking for a reduction of 27 spaces. City staff does find that the parking lot is adequate enough for their customers, as well as any special events that they do have, as the Greenmount does have special events throughout the year. However, there has not ever been an increase or demand for parking that they would not be able to provide. So staff is making a recommendation to approve the alternative parking plan per city code. Looking at the outdoor display, there are some markings on this site plan that I have shown up here. The 2 green circles located directly outside of the building, those are the existing displays that were approved for the original planned use. Anything outlined in green and red in the squares or the red is what the petitioner is requesting. We did work with the petitioner, and we are requesting at this time, or recommending at this time, to approve any outdoor storage within the green square. So this would expand their outdoor storage to the expansion. So anything along those green squares in the expansion outside of the building elevation, staff is recommending for approval. And the petitioner has, since anything outlined in the red circles, the petitioner has agreed to eliminate those, as staff does not believe that they meet commercial design guidelines. And in terms of the commercial design guidelines, we ask that any outdoor storage be aesthetically accommodating and consistent with the building elevation. So staff does believe that expanding the outdoor display to the building elevation anywhere beyond the parking lot is not appropriate, and at the ingress-egress point is not appropriate as well. So staff would recommend allowing Greenmount Motorsports to expand the current display to the contiguous areas along the building elevation. Staff does not recommend expanding the outdoor display to areas beyond the parking lot. Drainage and utilities, water service is provided by the City of O'Fallon, and sewer services are provided through Caseyville Township. We are currently in the review phase for this project, and drainage will continue to be managed by the existing Southwest Detention Basin. Petitioners are also provided a Phase 1 drainage report, and Public Works does find it acceptable and appropriate. The dumpster enclosure is existing and located on the south side of the building, and landscape plans have not yet been submitted for any changes to the parking lot or the building elevation. However, they will be required to meet city code at that time. In terms of signage, The city code allows up to 3 wall signs per establishment, each sign limited to 10% of the wall area with a maximum of 300 square feet. The dealer, or the petitioner, is proposing wall-mounted dealer identification and brand signage, which is required as part of their business expansion on the north, south, and west elevations. We worked with the petitioner to get this sign submitted. We are considering this one sign, which would meet the, which would meet code at 233 square feet, which falls under the maximum of 300 square feet. And they are looking to put these signs on the north, south, and west elevation. Per code, they are allowed to have signs on 3 sides of those elevations, so signage does meet code at this time. So just to go over the site plan once again, they are looking to do that building expansion on the the southeast portion of the site, along with pavement of the parking lot and restriping, and expansion of their outdoor storage to the building elevations. This does conform with the 2040 master plan in terms of expanding the economic base. In conformity with the zoning code, this proposed use does meet all bulk regulations. It does not have a significant impact on traffic or negatively affect adjacent properties, and this general commercial zoning designation is compatible with all of the neighboring commercial lots. So with that stated, staff will ultimately recommend approval of the planned use in the building expansion, along with the allowance of an alternative parking plan based on ITE data requiring 2.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet, allowing a total of 160 spaces. An installation of an automatic fire sprinkler system in the building expansion. All signage must meet city code. Photometrics and landscape plans must meet city code. The current outdoor display is permitted to expand to contiguous areas along the building elevations, and the City of O'Fallon's commercial design guidelines must be met. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Ross?
Yeah, did you say Public Works has looked at the stormwater and drainage?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what direction does stormwater drain from that property? Is it?
That flows,
No, I was trying to pull it on map.
So it flows to the detention pond, which is south of the existing business, and it flows, if I'm not mistaken, it flows east.
So it's not toward Misty Valley?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions from the committee? Council? Public? All right. Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval of 2.2 based on the staff recommendations and conditions.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion with the committee? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Thank you. Rosenberg,
Affirmative?
Campbell,
Yes.
Parchman,
Yes.
Roach.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that'll be sent on to the council as well. And 2.3.
Thank you. I will just clarify quickly before handing this over to Grant for 2.3. These first 2 items will go to City Council next Tuesday, February 17th at 6 o'clock p.m. Second reading will occur on February 23rd at 6 o'clock, and final approval, second reading, will be at City Council on March 2nd.
Okay, thank you.
So as part of the O'Fallon Celebrates America's 250th, we've got scheduled for July 3rd, 2026. The city did post some announcements last week on Friday on Facebook and our website. Part of that event at nighttime will include fireworks, similar to previous years at the sports park. After last year's fireworks, we did reach out to Fireworks Authority, who has done the previous 7 years, to get a contract from them. We've been working with them since then. They've been very back and forth about the tariffs impact. We did reach out to them last month to procure a new contract. And so they brought back with us a minor increase in tariffs. We did ask them to give us a higher cost and value of the show for a $40,000 budget, and they provided that contract to us, which we included in the agenda. And so tonight, we're asking for approval of this contract, or to grant authorization to the mayor to sign this contract for fireworks on July 3rd, 2026, beginning at sundown at the sports park. Obviously, there'll be a lot more information coming about the July 3rd celebrations and the fireworks of that day.
All right, thank you. Just quick question, what was the previous cost?
Previous cost was, when we first started, about 20,000. The final year last year was in the upper 20s.
Okay,
So this will be a larger show than the previous years.
okay. So it's not just the tariff increase, it's...
Correct.
It's
Yep,
the-
we did ask them to give us a larger show, given the larger celebration for the 250th.
Gotcha, great, okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Council? Public? All right. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the committee? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Parchman,
Yes.
Rosenberg, Roach.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. And that gets us to updates.
Thank you. This is a quick update. It's a slow month in terms of construction. Chair Lotz did ask me to share one update on Park Place. City staff is currently working with IDOT to work through the logistics of Highway 50, Veneta, and Frontage Road. So we are actually meeting with them at their office tomorrow with Public Works and Grant. So that's the update on Park Place. In terms of other construction updates, the construction still continues on the hotels, but with it being cold and the snow, there's some obviously issues with weather. So in terms of the department update for January 2026, we processed 54 building permits for a total construction value of $5 million. This is very similar to last year at this time, 51 permits at $7.7 million. We issued 200 occupancy permit inspections. This did include 101 re-inspections. Last year at this time, we completed 163. 492 building inspections were completed last month. This did include both commercial and residential inspections, which is also very similar to January 25. 54 fire inspections were completed, and during the month of January, we did receive 50 code enforcement cases from the public, and of those cases, 140 actions, whether it be administrative, those were completed. And so that is my update.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions on that? No? All right, well then I will open it up for any public comments. Anybody who would like to speak, come forward to the mic. All right. Nobody online or anything? No? All right, seeing none, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.
And so my staff told me that was going to take a lot longer, so we do have to wait until 6:30 to start public safety. I know. Don't blame me. Blame the Open Meetings Act.
That's with, we were delayed.
Right hook, man. It's like...
Okay, we'll call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Blackburn,
Here.
Councilmember Mylard, Councilmember Ford,
Here.
Councilmember Stoffel,
Here.
Councilmember Newcomb. Thank you.
Okay, we do have quorum. All right, the meeting minutes for September 8th, 2025. I can't believe it's been that long, but they're attached. Can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Or any discussion on the minutes? All in favor? All right. Okay, under 2.1, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an intergovernmental agreement between City of O'Fallon and Osage Ambulances.
Yeah, so this essentially is surplus equipment, a 2013 F-450 Osage ambulance that we have left over since the purchase of our new ambulance, Medic 4, that was taken in right around August of last year. So we no longer have any need or use for this surplus ambulance. And given the fact that our last ambulance sold at auction brought in $6,000, the 12.5 is fair market value, more than fair market value, and Osage is in the business of buying their old ambulances back. So it's almost essentially kind of a reverse down payment. We just bought one from them, and now we're going to sell and get rid of this one.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Before any discussion, can I get a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
With three of us here, I know. Any discussion from the committee? Routine. Council? Any public comment? Okay, roll call, please.
Blackburn,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Stoffel.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, that'll go to the next city council. For other business, 3.1. Chief White, I believe you're taking this?
Yep. So this evening, I was kind of asked to kind of give you guys kind of an update on the department, where we've come from, where we're at currently, looking at this year, and then more so kind of looking in the next 5, 10, and further years out there. So I'm going to start off with some of the, what we've done over the last year, kind of where we're at, and then we'll kind of just talk about things to think about for the future of the department and O'Fallon as we're continuing to grow. And some of this, again, if there's questions or anything along the way, please definitely ask, and we'll work through them. Just kind of a reminder, we're a dual-headed department, which is kind of unusual in the state. We're the municipal fire department for the city. We're also the fire protection district for the surrounding area. You can see on the screen there, Shiloh, O'Fallon Township, Caseyville Township, so forth. So all in total, we have about 45,000 people and roughly 45 square miles. So the fire protection district is now basically contracted to the city. Our 3-person board does the tax levy on the district side, and then that money comes in and is part of our operational funds. So we are a combination department. There's 5 full-time staff. Myself and the deputy, Doug Barron, are the 2 firefighters. We have 3 administrative staff, and then we're primarily comprised of the paid-on-call folks. We have roughly 40 to 45 on the books right now, and then we have 18 part-timers. And we'll talk a little bit more about the unique structure of all that. So again, our mission and vision hasn't really changed over the years. We seek to be that go-to for the city, highly trained, rapid response. And as the city grows, that rapid response piece obviously becomes more critical. And we'll talk about numbers and stats of, again, where we started from, at least when I started as chief back in 2019, which now doesn't seem that long ago, but it kind of is, and where we're at now and what it looks like going forward. So they're just kind of by the numbers. So when I started in January of 2019, we had 39 firefighters on the books. That was a combination part-timers and the paid-on-call. I was the only full-time firefighter and then hired deputy. So just over 1,000 incidents, 77 community events. The training hours, a little deceiving, 1,600. We didn't document quite as many hours. We just didn't have the software for it. So that was probably a little higher. But you can just see the jump from 2019 to 2025, where we're now over 60. A couple hundred extra calls in there. 209 community events last year. You figure it's 365 days in a year, so we stay busy just with the public stuff. That 7,700 hours is also not accurate, as John Williams, one of my captains, pointed out. We didn't document the 1,000 hours that our last group did through the basic academy, so quite a bit more. We cover 22 hours a day, So we have that 12-hour day shift, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later, and we do a 10-hour night shift. In the current budget, we just got done with those budget meetings, we've added in money to make that 2 12-hour shifts, so we will do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with somewhat of a significant increase in our budgeting line item for our part-timers, which I'm going to talk about again also later on. And again, just another snapshot of by the numbers. 1,300 calls. We average about an extra 100 calls every year here lately. Again, we don't do EMS. We help them out when necessary, but this is just strictly the fire response and all the stuff that goes with it. Sounds like a lot, but if you look at the numbers, 400 of those were false alarms. We were canceled en route. A lot of non-life-threatening events occur. We are a very safe city in a lot of ways compared to other places. We don't have a lot of fires. The 111 fire responses is a little deceiving in a lot of ways. That includes everything from a full-on structure fire to us putting a water can on some leaves on the ground, which is usually what it is. We have, on average, about 51 fires in homes, kitchens, single-room and content kind of things. But very rarely do we have a full-on structure fire where the whole house is involved and lost. That happens less than 10 times a year. So very big on the public safety piece as well. Again, we can see all the community events and our smoke detector program, fire extinguishers. Thanks to the Rotary Club, we got a donation of over 100 extinguishers, and we've been passing those out to ensure that our One Home, One Extinguisher program continues to move forward. I'm going to talk just a bit about our fire department. So here's how we're kind of comprised these days. Again, 5 full-time staff, myself the deputy, Casey and Sarah sit in the office there. Sarah, most of you guys know, is our full-time fire educator. And then Craig Schmidt is our full-time operations supervisor. He also doubles on the volunteer side as our assistant chief this year, marking, or December actually, this past December was his 40th year as a firefighter here in Illinois, in O'Fallon. So I think he's the second longest serving firefighter we have on the department. So quite an accomplishment. He's got years to go with us. Again, primarily made up the paid-on-call firefighters, volunteer firefighters, depending on how you want to term them. If you look at our totality of our paid-on-call folks, I kind of hunk them into thirds. So you have a third of them who are kind of born and raised, maybe second and third generation firefighters within O'Fallon. We have about a third roughly that are now associated with the Air Force Base, active duty, civilians on base, veterans that came and retired here. And then we have a third, I kind of call them the transient group. So we have a younger number of firefighters that are 18 to 21. So 21 is what you have to be a full-time firefighter in the state of Illinois. We allow them to join us at 18. So in that 18 to 21 stage, they kind of get some experience. 21, they start applying and they move on to a career somewhere. So we lose some of those folks. But it's a good mix of folks. It gives us a variety of talents to pick from. Those paid-on-call folks, they assist with those part-time positions during the day, and then they are exclusively the ones who then also give up time at night and stay over at the station and cover down overnight. Our part-timers are those that we have hired. Most of them are all paid-on-call volunteers at other departments outside of O'Fallon, and they come in during the day on their off days, wherever they work at, to work those 12-hour day shifts and help cover the city during that time frame. So it's kind of a mix between the two. We don't have any of those part-timers covering at night because, again, we have so many volunteers willing to do that for us. And then just to give you an idea, so that 31 firefighters under 5 years is that rapid growth. So again, 39 people when I started, we're up to 60 now. I believe we even have like a dozen or so in training, roughly, who are on the books as firefighters, but we have a very good success rate in recruiting people coming in the door. But we have a very young department. Experience-wise, age-wise, we're in that 30 to 40 range. So they come with some age and time in life, but not experience in the fire service. So it's a balancing act. All the red shirts you see in the back here at the chamber are the officers on the department. That's the lieutenants, the captains, and Doug Barron, the deputy. Sarah's in the back as well. All of those folks there have basically 20 years more in the fire service. So when they retire, our experience also leaves too. We have a very young department, both experience-wise and kind of in that age-wise.
Are you able to have them stand and introduce them?
Yeah, if you guys,
If they want to.
yeah, no, they got voluntold now. So if you guys will stand, I'll introduce you guys one by one to the group. If you guys in the red back there will stand up. So yeah. So Doug Barron, our deputy fire chief. You have Frank Shoemaker. He's one of our captains, our senior captain. He's also in the water department here full-time. Danny Mersinger is lieutenant, has been around. He's one of those generational firefighters in the area, works for the state. John Williams is another firefighter, captain, been 20 years, also works for the city full-time. Mike Lynch in the front is actually an Air Force colonel, serves on base full-time, and then has worked at East Coast firefighter and is volunteering while he's out here active duty with us. Also behind him in blue is Riley Weaver. He's our junior lieutenant here, our junior firefighter in the mix of this crowd. But he's one of our young up-and-comers, and that's what we kind of need. Again, all these guys have 20 years or more experience, and it's going to start to be a turnover of things. In the back, everybody knows Craig. He's sitting back here, 40 years on the department. And then Sarah, everybody's probably seen Sarah out and about, so she's hit the ground running with us, and she doesn't know it yet, but there's something else coming for her here.
And I will say, even though Riley seems to be the lieutenant, or the junior lieutenant, that firefighting mustache is many years of experience.
Yes, generational as well. His family has been firefighters in the city here for a while. So we're going to talk cost a little bit, and you guys have all heard me say that there's a cost to the fire department, and unfortunately the cost is increasing. Our revenue stream, we'll talk about, is what it is. We have the property taxes that come in from the city and the district. Unfortunately, after COVID, the industry as a whole, for the fire service, we've seen about a 6% increase on most costs, and that is usually every 9 months, not even a full year. So in a 1 year period, you could see a 1 or 2 times that the trucks will raise the price 6%, and then the equipment and everything goes after that. So as the city has heard me say over and over, at some point, while we are saving money not being career, we still need to figure out another way to fund this department in order to continue to allow us to do what we're doing in the structure that we have. And we'll talk about that. So just a few budget comparisons year by year. 23 to 24, there was a kind of a drop in our revenue. I believe that was the year we had kind of a faux pas, kind of a screw up with the calculations that were being done. Since then, we've had Sandy actually help us out to straighten that up. Again, that's that disconnect we kind of had between the district trying to do things one way and the city doing things one way. We weren't on the same sheet of music. We lost out on some revenue because of that. So now Sandy's helping us. We're trying to regain what we've lost. But you can see just year by year, though, those numbers don't raise very drastically. We're not gaining at the speed at which that 6% increase is coming with the cost of everything in the industry. It's kind of an apples to oranges comparison, but just to give you that kind of comparison here, Belleville Fire Department is as close as you can get in comparing us as a fire service and what it would look like at the career department. Same structure, 60 firefighters, 5 admin. They ran last year about 1,000 calls more than us, but they are picking up EMS calls because they don't do EMS like we don't. And they're having to help out, though, because of the contracts with the contract ambulances service out there are taking them extended periods of time. So they're trying to protect their community as best they can, and they're stepping up and running some calls in that area. But you can see $7.5 million roughly is what they pay in salary. Our salary, when you add up everything, and we can break it down in another slide, is $1.1 million. As I've kind of said, if you combine EMS and fire, you're still only at $6.5 million. So you still would have to come up with even another $1 million to figure out how to pay us. And then the size would be completely different because, again, they're not doing EMS. We would do that here. If we ever merged, we would have a much different looking format. But when we look at our budget, I kind of chunked it into 4 areas: personal, maintenance, operational expenses, and then our capital reserves. So our people are where we put our money into. The people are what make the fire department. So if you look at the overall budget, this is 2025 numbers because those are the last full year budgets. Since we're in 26 right now, I just went to last year's working with Robin. So you can see basically not $1 million almost, $989,000 for the full-time, part-time, and the paid on-call, and you see how those break out. And then you throw in the pension budget and stuff like that for the full-time staff. Right at $1 million, so about half of our budget goes into that expense of just paying for the personnel that we have, which again is not outside the norm for most businesses. But when you're talking $2 million, that's a big chunk of it. Maintenance for us includes everything we have to do. line item by line item, we usually allocate what you see there, 40,000 for the stations, just to keep them running, 115 for the vehicles, and 40,000 for equipment. And then out of that, we have every year, 36,000 is the minimum we're obligated to pay to have all those different things inspected and maintained. We have National Fire Protection Association requires us to have certain annual testing done, and those things add up very quickly, and those costs go up year by year. Our operations cover everything that we do. Just to give you an idea of the cost of a firefighter, so the bunker gear, that's the clothing we wear when we go inside the structures. Everything untold is $4,600. The standard for us has always been we would issue 2 sets of gear to each firefighter. That's kind of a cancer prevention thing. It's a opportunity for them to come out of a fire or some other contamination, and then be able to strip that gear apart and put it into the wash and get it cycled through. It takes about a day to do that. We used to always issue everybody 2 sets of gear, but at $4,600 a set now, that's impossible, so we've gone down to 1, and we kind of hope for the best. If you come out of a fire, we have you strip your stuff down and clean it, and we just hope that we don't catch a second fire and you are stuck without any gear. That's not really a great solution, but it's kind of our only solution. The other thing we've had to do is that picture on the left is our most recent graduation class of 6. Those fancy uniforms that they're wearing, we no longer issue. Each one of those uniform ensembles is about another $800 to $900 per person, and we've decided that for the 2 or 3 times a year that you may wear it, funerals is predominantly what we wear them for, unfortunately. We would just strip back and not do the whole dress uniform. The shirt that they have, that long sleeve blue, light blue shirt, we used to do a light blue long and short sleeve, and then like the polo shirts the guys have in the back, short and long sleeve, so everybody had 4 shirts and t-shirts. We've gone all the way down to issuing a dark blue button up, 1 long, 1 short, and some t-shirts. There won't be any more dress uniforms. It's another $800 per person that we're gonna have to eliminate for now. And then that initial cost, again, we do NFPA physicals, which is required, but not most. I would say a lot of departments in this area don't do that if they're not a career department. Again, we're trying to make sure that all these volunteers go home at the end of the day and then at the end of their service with us, and we want to make sure that we're tracking their health throughout the time that they're with us. So everybody goes through initial physical, which is both medical and a physical endurance strength test, and then we send them back through annuals, and we have the difference in the price there for over 40 includes EKG and some other stuff just to ensure, again, that they're healthy throughout their career with us. So all told, $5,500 per person. And again, that's stripping out that second set of gear and then stripping down the dress uniforms that we would typically wear. And then I don't know how many folks realize what it takes to become a volunteer. A lot of places you can just show up the door, fill out the application, do a little OJT time, and then off you go on the fire truck, and you'll learn to put water on the hot stuff on your time while you're with them. And that's not how we operate. We do have some pretty high standards that we try to hold to. So when they come into us, applications, we'll take those whatever day that is. Usually on Tuesdays, we encourage everybody to come out during our Tuesday training. Some of our officers and some of our firefighters, our little committee, they'll sit down with those folks, they'll take and screen through their application. And then for the next 4 weeks, they have to come back and watch and learn. We don't do anything else with them. We just have those guys kind of talk to them about expectations, time commitment, the training that goes into it, and everything that we're expecting them to do if they stay on with us. So for 4 weeks, all they are doing is coming in and watching us on our 2 hours of training every Tuesday, get a feel for what that is. Once they say, yeah, I'm good with that, we give them a packet. We have our own on-the-job training packet where we do everything from sit down with our SOPs. We work through all of the administrative tasks that we have to go through and teach them about how to communicate on radios. EMS guys always running around.
It's not them, so they don't run.
Sorry. Somebody's got to work.
Yeah, they run 6,500 calls a year. We would, on a side note, we would probably be like the second or third largest department south of Springfield if we ever did merge. It'd be about 8,000 calls between the two of us. But yeah, so we give them a package. We go through that package with them on Tuesdays and Thursdays and some other days. It's about 40 hours of in-house training that we do. Somewhere in that package, there's a line where we go from just doing administrative to hands-on, and that's when we send them off to do those physicals. And then if it's they come back healthy and qualified, then we start in on the hands-on training. We then send them to the academy, which is now 370 hours. So that is done in a blended fashion. The academics are online, and then they spend, I think it's 10 weekends now in the hands-on portion. So Saturday, Sunday, 10-hour days. They do that for 10 weeks. And then when they're done with that, they are not done training. They still have to get their hazmat operations to learn just the basics of dealing with hazard material calls for another 40 hours. And only after all of that, then do they become a paid-on-call firefighter.
I was just curious, if, for those that drop out of the program, what's typically the reason they do?
They don't try hard enough. I mean, sometimes they just, literally it comes down to, they just didn't realize what they were getting into.
Yeah.
I don't think most people really understand the training that goes into it. It is very intense. All the hands-on training that we do at the local academy is run as a scenario. So they're doing firefighting tasks in the burn tower for everything, throwing ladders. Everything is built in like you were going to do it on the job. It's not just go out and lift a ladder, put it against a building. It's built into a full scenario. So it is a labor intensive, and that's the winter academy is run in the winter, you know, and short of a foot of ice, you're not canceling. And the summertime, it's 100 degrees, and we'll send 2 or 3 to the hospital for heat exhaustion on the weekend. So it's a very intense class. So for us, from day one until they graduate that program, which could be a year. So the way it is right now, that the regional academy is held throughout the state. It's held here in Swansea in the fall, and then it rotates, or in the spring, I guess, and then it rotates to like down towards the Marion area. We used to send people to either or. But again, with the cost, if I send them to Marion, I now pay the travel expense that goes with that and the hotel expense and everything else. So we're holding them until the Swansea class comes back around and then just dumping them up here. So for some of those folks, they could be with us almost a full year before they ever graduate. So in that full year period, they're probationary. They're not getting paid $1 for anything they do. They just show up and still have to participate. And then once they graduate and get sworn in, then they're a paid-on-call person making $14. And you can see we did, like I say, adopt the ordinance requiring that certification as well, so a little bit different than some of the areas. Cost-wise, again, very quickly, the pre-2026, the state got a large amount of grant money and went to the Fire Academy. The University of Illinois Fire Service Institute is where we predominantly send our folks to training. Almost every class they had up there was grant funded, and so it was free. If we send somebody out of town for it or anything, we would just pay for the room and board somewhere. Unfortunately, 2026 started and the grant money went away. So everything minus the Fire Academy right now and a couple other classes are very costly, and you can see on the screen there. I would say pre-26, if somebody said they wanted to go to any one of those classes or any of a dozen others, I would just say, yep, let's go send you off and go do it. It's a skill set we may or may not use, but it's a skill set that's good to have. And now it's a very selective process. Unless there's really somebody that we think is going to be moving up into a lieutenant captain position, odds are we're probably not going to be sending them to those classes quite yet. We'll let them build a little bit more time. Common passenger vehicle, that's learn how to cut those cars apart and extricate people out of them. That may be something we are a little bit more selective on. We actually, myself and several others, are trainers for that program, so we may do stuff in-house just to save money. But again, these, year to year, I would maybe pay $10,000 or $12,000 at most for training. Now, I think $20,000 to $25,000 would be just a selective amount of people able to go to training. It's going to be challenging, I think, because again, once we start sending these, none of these classes on that screen and then some are going to be offered locally anymore. They used to be regional. We could host them. We could do everything down here. Now, because they're paid, everything's going to be in Champaign for the most part. So now I have to send everybody to those classes out of town. Capital reserves, I don't got none. So if you look at the numbers, that's what I got from Finance, Rob. And again, this is at the end of 2025. So 5 years worth of savings there, $748,000. That's not even enough for one truck, let alone capital reserves for the future. And we'll talk about that 748 because again, we just purchased a truck and we're going to pay for it here in 3 or 4 years. So that's $622,000 of that's already gone. It's already allocated. So 5 years of savings really hasn't gotten us anywhere. And here in a couple of years, we're going to be out of money again just because of the one truck we have, let alone what I'm about to show you. So if you think capital reserves and just future needs, and we're going to talk a little bit, breaking these down on the next slide, but just things to think about. We passed on the one engine in 2024. We have an engine from 2009. The industry standard is about 15 years for a fire engine in service and 20 years for a ladder truck. Fortunately for us, we have Craig, and he does some tremendous work on these trucks for us. We have some very high standards that we keep these trucks clean and in service. So we are definitely able to extend the life on these vehicles, I believe. And we're seeing that across the industry just because of the cost. So those $1 million truck we passed on in 2024 is something that eventually we're still going to need to replace. I have the 125-foot ladder truck. So as the Veneta project comes online, we've got the 2 hotels coming online. We have Myers coming online. We need the 3rd truck eventually in our fleet. It's not something we use day to day, but if you think about the number of buildings that are going to be over 3 stories, the box doors, the deep reaches, we have a 100-foot ladder truck with that bucket on it, and we have a 75-foot ladder truck. The 75-foot ladder truck, in a lot of ways, was really designed for this downtown district, enclosed up over these buildings here. When you start talking the big box doors and trying to get that reach into the fires and up onto 3rd and 4th and 5th stories of buildings, that truck's not going to make it. So that's something we definitely have to start planning for. That's a 4-year build, 3 to 4 year build too. So as we start thinking about the timelines for Veneta in those areas, we've got to kind of calculate that into the build process for those trucks. The new station consolidation, we'll talk about here in a second. And then, again, just for the future, currently we have, like I say, the 2 12-hour shifts. With day shift, we have the 4 firefighters plus the 3 of us on full-time. And then at night, we basically right now run with 2 that stay overnight at the station, and then one of the captains or lieutenants takes home a take-home vehicle. In the new budget year, we'll again extend that to a 12-hour night shift, and then add, I've allocated money in there for a 3rd person to stay on overnight, so we would have 4 basically at night, 4 during the day. Down the road, as we increase call volume and stuff, and this is not in the near future, but I still believe there's ways we'll all be able to extend the structure we have now without going to a career structure, and that's simply by adding a couple more part-timers during the day. If you add 2 more, that gives us 2 trucks at 3, plus the 3 people here. There's just ways to do it, and I just kind of start thinking through those in the longer term of things. So the next slide is, again, just kind of the breakdown of where our trucks are. Again, these 15 and 20-year marks are kind of the industry standard, but we're also seeing that shift because of the cost of everything. And again, our trucks are very well maintained. The way we've changed our responses with the duty crew, so those people that are on during the day and night, out of that 1,300 calls, they ran 1,100 of those calls basically with 1 truck. Those were non-life-threatening calls. So again, even out of the 1,300 calls, most of what we do is not very, cool for firefighters. You know, it's not the putting out the fires every day kind of stuff, but it's allowed us to keep the trucks off the road and to not have to put miles on trucks just to have them run down the road to get canceled, like we hear on the radio quite a bit with some other departments. The future fire station, again, that's all just going to be dependent on where the city decides to build out next. So if we start pushing further up north, you know, up Seven Hills out to O'Fallon Troy Road, and get a lot of commercial or residential stuff out there, we'll need to consider how we're going to get there, because right now we're coming from downtown. They like to have a 1.5 mile drive time from an engine, 2.5 from the ladder. That's not where we're at when we're talking coming from downtown here. Same if we go out towards Rita Road. You know, if we go with what we've kind of had in the past come through, some of the large box warehousing things, those things are all sprinklered and stuff. I don't have a real concern for some of that. But if, you know, that changes, or we get hotels and we get residential and different things out that way, again, it'll just be something we have to kind of keep an eye on and what that looks like moving forward. And as that happens, you know, we also have to kind of start thinking downtown with stations 1 and 2 eventually. You know, what are we going to do with those? Are we going to consolidate them? Are we going to try to upgrade them? Neither one of those has any sort of living quarters in there. There's nowhere to house anybody if we decided to put extra shifts on or move people around. So we just have to kind of decide, you know, down the road what we're going to do with those 2 stations as well. and what that would look like in the future. But again, those are long-term kind of plans. So again, if you look at our revenue, it's about a 3.3% increase we see every year. That reserves that we have currently after 5 years is pretty much a wash after we purchase this new truck and then start to look again. So we see that 6% increase. There's no slowdown in the market right now. In fact, those next increases will probably hit us in the next month or two as the new year's turn, and it's been a while. So I think that is my last one, but I just kind of want to throw that out there to you because, again, like I say, we're very successful at what we do. We're very unique and dynamic structure that we have is sustainable, I think. We have, like I say, 60 people, again, 10 or so that are applicants now. So we average 2 or 3 a week, which is unheard of in this area. It's very easy for us to say that we could push to 70 or 80 people. However, as we kind of talked, Doug and I, we really can't do that. We don't have enough money to outfit them right now. We're cutting down uniforms and equipment left and right just to maintain the people we have currently. If I had 70 people, 80 people, we would have more than enough to do this for a long time, but we have to be able to outfit them, and we have to be able to do that. One thing I will point out too is, 2024, we had a couple of state awards that we won for the life safety stuff. I keep joking back here with Sarah. She doesn't know yet, but 2025, O'Fallon Fire Department is being recognized again. We had the Illinois Fire Sprinkler Association select Sarah as a 2025 award winner for the New Horizons Award.
She didn't know that yet.
She doesn't know this yet.
So Sarah, would you like to step up? She really doesn't.
Yeah. So the 2025 award, New Horizon Award, is for new fire and life safety educators with less than 3 years. What's unique about this award, though, is this award wasn't a nomination from our department. This was from folks she's now met in the industry here in the state and has worked with for just a short period of time, and they put her in for this award, and she was selected for it. So her impact that we see here in the city is also being recognized by those in the state. So congratulations, Sarah. She has no clue, and I don't think most of our officers at this point knew either. Yeah, so with that, I'll leave it to any questions or discussions.
Yeah, I did, just a few times. We live in this world so much, so just to clarify, Station 1 and Station 2, we talked about, they're a little bit older and consolidating. Those are the ones that are either in downtown or at Highway 50 and 3rd Street. Station 3 is in Shiloh. Station 4 is the one that many of you have been to by the sports park. So for a long time, O'Fallon had no full-time fighters. It was a rural district, and there was a merger between the City of O'Fallon's Fire Protection District and the rural district, I believe in the late 90s. Yeah. Late 90s timeframe. So we absorbed the district. That district had agreements in place to provide fire service to the village of Shiloh. And so you'll see a lot of those things that we provide fire to Shiloh and the surrounding areas. Station 3 is in Shiloh. There's an agreement about how that got built, who paid for it. There's a lot that goes into every day. I commend Chief White, Deputy Chief Barron, and the entire command staff and all the volunteer firefighters. We've seen a model that works here, and it's really special in the whole state. As I travel and meet my peers, especially up in Chicago, and they ask about our fire service, and when I tell them we're a volunteer firefighter department that serves 45,000 people in a community, they're just floored. They have no idea how it works, and that's really from these guys. As you see in the presentation, we're getting to the point with being successfully able to recruit volunteers and paid on call that soon in the future we will be forced to turn people away simply because we cannot afford to outfit volunteers. And so that's not a place we want to be as a future in community. As we talk and meet the public safety staff and I, it would be a great world where our entire budget was training and outfitting and equipment, and the stats said 0 structure fires because we're proactive and we have fire extinguishers and fire smoke detectors in every house and building. But that's not a reality. And so as we talk about long-term funding for the fire department, there are property tax base. we've heard loud and clear from the council that we don't want to increase property taxes, and we understand that. But as we move forward over the summer months, and we'll go through a lot of these things with EMS as well. Now, EMS also has their runs that they create revenue from. We are looking for options, and we'll have a great discussion with the council about how do we fund these ongoing property-dependent services without simply just having to increase property tax to a point that our community doesn't feel is that important to them. Nobody needs a firefighter until they have a fire or need one, or call 911 or need an ambulance until they need one. And so as we move forward into these next few months, once we get out of budget, we're going to have some of those conversations. How do we look next 5, 10, even 20 years down the road to keep this model that works alive and running well for our community? So with that, we'll open up questions for anybody that has them.
I was going to ask what keeps you up at night, but I'm willing to bet it's money.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, our department, like I said, the city itself is very, very safe. I mean, we don't have fires like we have throughout the county, and we're very efficient. I all the time joke with Doug and the staff here, like, I can leave and not come back, and nothing's going to change as far as the operations go. We are very fluid in how we operate. There's 20 years of, in each one of those individuals sitting there. Any one of them can step up and actually run the fire department and do the job. It's not, but it's uniquely structured. We just met with the chief from Maryville. He came down last week to figure out how we're doing what we're doing. They're combined career firefighters with a few volunteers, like 7 career firefighters, 11 paid on call guys. And he's trying to figure out how we grow at 3 or 4 per month. It's something that, again, Fairview is looking at some options. They're very manpower strained right now. So they're having to consider some other options as well. So we are, like Grant said, we're unique. Most people are shocked at the way we do what we do. Again, I think the structure is very sound and stable, and I think we can extend it, but it's just going to come at that cost of how do we maintain just outfitting the guys that are volunteering to do that day to day.
Well, I think with reputation, I mean, it speaks a lot to your leadership. The fact that we're almost in the spot to have turned folks away, that's just incredible to hear that, and word gets around if it's a great department or not. So kudos to you guys. That's awesome.
Don't get the word out that we're turning people away yet.
Oh, yeah. You were supposed to unmute.
Yeah.
I was just going to kind of echo that. I mean, I've heard this presentation in various iterations when I met with you, and then when I did the Citizens Police Academy also, and I'm still always just amazed, like, at the quality of service that we have and the way that we've got it structured, and it's just really very special, and it's nice to be reminded of that and to educate the rest of the population about it as well. So thank you, and looking forward to the discussions this summer about funding you all.
Any other comments from committee? Council? Public? All right, well, we're now at public comments. Does anyone have public comment? All right, that concludes the agenda for the evening. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Motion.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you.